Welcome back to the GodXP Podcast. After all, it's been several years, and this is our pilot episode, but it's also a blast from the past episode containing highlights from the old episodes because they're not online anymore. If you're unfamiliar, this is the GodXP Spiritual Fitness Podcast, and it's going to be a very guest-heavy podcast from now on. We're bringing in experts from their individual respective fields of consciousness, enlightenment, psychology, business, entrepreneurship, fitness, anything that leads to the individual growth, individual enlightenment. It's for your own benefit. It's for us as individuals and nothing else. So that's what it's all about. I hope you enjoy it. If you don't know me, I'm Anthony Polanco. I've been a digital marketing consultant for several years now. I went through this crazy depression period of my life when I was young, in my early 20s, and ending in suicide ideation. I took a path of personal development and spiritual enlightenment pursuit, and that's why the GodXP podcast started. Last year, I released a depression recovery book called Get Your Mojo Back, and I encourage you to read it. But hopefully I'll be able to lend some of my findings and my realizations in life as well. I'm also a yoga meditation teacher. So just some of the things that have helped me along the path. I hope the path of spiritual understanding and also of depression recovery I hope to share. But also I'm just here to uncover and help my guests reveal their deeper, profound truths that they've discovered along their path, and just help share their stories and stories that will inspire the individual, you, me, everyone who listens. So if you're unfamiliar, go to godxp.com, app.godxp.com. That's where our community is hosted, and there's plenty of meditation stuff there. So it's a personal development and spiritual development community. You're welcome to join it. You're welcome to just enjoy the podcast. But I don't want to take too much of your time. Enjoy this blast from the past highlights episode. And I'll see you at the end. I'll see you in the next episode. Enjoy.
Hey, what's up? Just kidding, you can't answer me. You found your way to the very first GodXP podcast episode. Congratulations. Welcome to the first day of the end of your life. I'm Anthony Polanco. Let's get it cracking. This episode is brought to you by me and my new single 1991, coming out in 3 days, 2 days, wherever music is sold, Spotify, iTunes. It'll even be on YouTube, and I'll play it here for you too, in case you're a music snob like me and you're thinking, I'm not listening to 3 minutes a year. Shit, nice try, buddy. It's the first single of my new album I plan to release this summer, which is upon us if all goes according to plan, and you can find out more at anthonypolanco.com. That's the end of the long list of sponsors for this episode. So here we go. Cue the beats. Let's get it poppin'. We've got lots to talk about. Intro theme song. Love it. I could listen to it all day. All right. GodXP Podcast, episode 1. What is it? Who am I? Where are we? Okay, let's get into it. So, GodXP is a new movement of spiritual empowerment. It's not a religion or a cult. I don't care if you believe in different things. I don't care what you believe. I assume that if you don't believe that the universe has some kind of spiritual power, you're probably not going to like this. This is probably not for you. But we do have some really cool guests coming on in the next few episodes that are health experts and business experts. That's going to be, that's a big part of my life and a big part of the show. So, but yeah, fundamentally, GodXP is a spiritual movement. It started when I decided to make some meditation courses for Christians, because Christians, it's kind of a taboo thing. Should Christians meditate? Yes, everybody should. And so basically GodXP, level up your spirit, all the fundamental principles that I've learned, battling my depression, reading a ton of books, traveling the world, looking for God, has all boiled down to fundamental principles that anyone can use to make their life more efficient, make their belief in reality, no matter what their religion, their belief system in reality can become more efficient. They can accomplish more things. They can realize their purpose. They can wake up every day and have a reason to get out of bed. They can battle self-defeating thoughts through these principles that I've put together. And so that's what GodXP is about, helping people realize that. And I'm not infallible, but we will continue to bring experts in on things that I'm not knowledgeable about, so that we can help increase people's lives, your life, my life. And it's going to be a heck load of fun. I think if you're into meditation at all, you're going to be really into GodXP. And if you're interested in meditation, go to godxp.com right now and download the first meditation course. It is free. So yes, if you're into meditation, you will like GodXP. You will love it. And if you love to question the ideas that have been put before us that don't make our lives better, we like to believe here that there is a human spirit, right? That should be exercised. Efficiency, we want spiritual efficiency, spiritual power. And so that's what I've pursued my whole life. And that's why I started GodXP, because God experience points, level up your spirit. We want to give you some God experience points, and we want you to be a part of that with us. It's a movement. We're going, we're doing, we're growing together. I don't consider myself infallible in any way. I love to be constantly learning new things and adapting my methods and my beliefs. I love growing. I love change. I love changing. So we're going to keep growing together, and it's super exciting. I'm so pumped about it. There's so much going on. The meditation courses is a big part of it. The podcast is a big part of it. My music is even a big part of it. The music I make is all about increasing your spiritual power, man. It saved my life, and so I want to help other people, not just people who are at the bottom, depressed and down and out. I want to help people who are growing and people who are successful and all that. Most people who are successful are missing something, so I want to help them fill that need, fill that void. So yeah, let's get to it. GodXP, man. Check it out. GodXP.com. Go to it. It's really cool. It's building. It's growing. It's new, but it's growing. And so yeah, the podcast, you're in a good place. You're in a good place to start with what we got going on. As a matter of fact, the only time that I haven't been the person that I really truly am is during that 5 years of depression. It started to taper out. I started to taper out of my personality into the middle of my depression, where I was not myself. And actually, when I hit rock bottom, that's when I was the most unlike myself that I've ever been. I feel like I was a completely different person at that time for those 1.5 2 years. When I started going to therapy, started doing the psychedelics, started reading books, that's when I really figured out that I was on the track to becoming who I am, who I truly am. And now I feel more like my childlike self than I ever have. And I owe that to all the processes that I've taken. Books have become a very important aspect of my life. And every time I read a new book, I grow, and I develop my brain more. And I'm really grateful for books for that. It's a hugely important part of my life, books. So yeah, those are all the methods that I've taken to find myself again. And if you are someone who wants to find yourself, man, try one of these or all of these, because that's how I got here. Some people don't need all that shit, but I did. When you meditate, you get this fundamental understanding of your own reality, and you're responsible for your own reality. Everybody's responsible for their own understanding of life. So through meditation, you can figure that out really quickly and become comfortable with it. Most people, they wake up and they jump out of bed and they throw themselves in the blender and they rush off to work. All this self-doubt lingering in their mind and frustration. They're in the wrong place in their life. They have marital issues, financial issues. They, they're not happy. And, you're responsible for your own life. So meditation can help you turn that around. it helped me, and it helps people. That's what it's for, It's proven to help people. So I created the guide because, you don't need a guide. The better you get at meditating, the more advanced you become. You don't need guides, but I still use them because I like them, When I find a good one, I really enjoy using it a few times. But it's easy. It's easy to use. You just put on some headphones, and just listen. And I might throw it into the next episode. It might be the next episode we go through the guided meditation together. So, yeah, maybe we'll try that. But we're going to keep making these things, because you can do them about 20, 30 times, and then you start getting tired of the person's voice or the path that it's taking. So we'll keep making them, The next one will come out in a few weeks, and once I know people are really digging this one, the cool thing is it's organic. I can always fix it. The best thing you can do is just put something out once you make it and just let people give you the feedback. So we're going to keep fixing it. We're going to keep working on them, making more. We've got the podcasts. What we want to do with the podcast is bring people in. We're going to start I got my buddy Arnold Weldon coming in maybe not next episode, maybe episode 3 or 4. This guy's a super strong, super smart science dude. He's a bodybuilding science whiz. He knows about health and nutrition. So he's going to come in and help us get a hold of our own nutrition in our life and our own health. Take advantage of the opportunities we have in this world to get fit, look good and feel good and live forever. So got Arnold coming in. GodXP thing, give you some more XP. I've got a lot of entrepreneur buddies I want to get in here. That's really important to me. So once they listen to this episode, hopefully they'll be like, yo, man, I want to get on that. So that'd be really cool. I've got buddies who make a lot of money online. I know that would really help some of you. People ask me, because I work from home. I make all my money from the computer, from home. I don't go to work. I work from home. So I've got a lot of people who ask me, how do you do that? What do you do? This will help, it'll your mind, your body, and your spirit. So, that big things coming. That's what GodXP Podcast is going to be. We're going to be reeling in people, experts from all areas of life. So, and doing interviews and all that stuff that you'd expect. I didn't think it was going to go well at all. I think it went pretty well. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the GodXP Podcast. I will see you next week. Peace. What's up, everybody? I wish you could talk back. That'd be really sweet. We got to do like a Google Hangout or something soon. YouTube live video thing. Meditation, what is it? Who cares? Why should I? That's what we're doing. It sounds cliche, or, you hear Oprah talking about it or whatever, I don't really know what people's interpretations of meditation are. So I'm just going to give you guys the basic rundown of why meditation works for me, how I got into it, and why it's important. I've needed it and used it to get out of depression. I've used meditation to have clarity on the career paths I should have, or calm myself in times of distress in relationships or financial hardship. A lot of clarity, you'll get when you meditate for longer periods of time. The longer you meditate, the better it is. And it's just how it works. It's a practice. It's not easy all the time, but with guided meditations like the one I created, it becomes very easy, because really all you do is lay there and listen to somebody guide you through it, and let your mind, your imagination take over and just kind of run with it. It's like, what do you think's gonna happen? It's like with working out, people say like, oh, I don't want to get too huge. You're going to go to the gym like 3 times and then give up. You're not going to get too huge. So just try things and experiment with life. You don't know how long you're going to be here, how long you're going to live. So just experiment. Try meditation. If it doesn't work out, what's the harm, But it's going to work out. It's amazing. My form of meditation that I prefer, and every kind of meditation I do, I adopt it to this principle. Meditation is the practice of the presence of God. It's not prayer, and it's not like an incantation. It's just the practice of realizing the presence of God, because God created all things, right? Whatever form of God you believe, you have to believe that the universe exists because of God, or you believe that the universe is God. So when you meditate, you're practicing the realization that you are a piece of a puzzle that exists, that is reality. You're a piece of the puzzle of reality. When I was a kid, I went to this church thing and did a meditation. The first meditation I ever did, I didn't realize it was a meditation until I was much older. They had us like pray for a while and then visualize the most beautiful place you could imagine, and then visualize Jesus there, and then talk to Jesus. So when I finally figured out meditation at an older age, I realized, wow, actually, that's what that was. That's meditation. If you do that, you will figure out so many things about yourself. So whether you believe that God exists or that Jesus is God or whatever, if you were to do that, you would be able to flesh out a lot of subconscious thoughts that you have about your life. And even if you're not Christian, you could do the same thing. The Bible talks a lot about meditation, and I think people don't realize that because it's not a Western thing. The Bible mentions meditation over 20 times, and there's 2 different Hebrew words for meditation in the Old Testament, and Jesus meditated often and encouraged his disciples to meditate. Dr. Bruce Demarest, in his book Satisfy Your Soul, he says, a quieted heart is the best preparation for all the work of God. And I totally agree. I think before every missionary decides, hey, I'm going to go overseas and do this crazy thing, they meditate for a while. And you might call it prayer, contemplative prayer, but that's what it is, meditation. So don't be such a prude about it. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength. That's the book of Isaiah. The Apostle Paul says it all the time. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove it is God, that you may prove what it is that's good and acceptable and in the perfect will of God. You have to enter into intimacy and friendship with God. So that's basically Christianity's meditation in a nutshell. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff that we could get into. I don't know how controversial meditation is to Christians. I'm assuming it's very controversial because I don't see a lot of Christians doing it. And not a lot of churches are preaching it, and pastors aren't preaching it, and they should be. If I was a pastor, that's what I would do. First thing I would say, all right, listen up. We got to meditate. It's going to take us an hour. We're going to do this together. Or it's going to take us 30 minutes. We're going to do this together. And I'm going to send you guys home with a little ebook or a study guide on how to meditate. Don't come back till you see God. But seriously, it's cool. It's a cool thing. It's something that's changed my life, saved my life, and no matter what you believe, it can help you. There's a resources page on GodXP.com. Go to it, godxp.com/resources. My goal was to convince you that meditation can work for you. So hopefully I did that. And yeah, I'm getting ready to get out of here, you guys. It's getting about noon time. I'm going to pack up my stuff, get ready to go. If you have any more questions on meditation, please do hit me up. I love you, though. I'm so happy that you're listening to this and getting ready to take over your life and get back in control of your spirit. So yeah, listen to the meditation. It's coming up. I'm going to get out of here, going to get ready to pack up my stuff and get ready for the next one. Thank you guys so much. See you next week. Peace. GodXP Podcast, episode number 3. I'm your host, Anthony Polanco. Here we go. Everybody, GodXP Podcast, episode number 3. Happy to have you here. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm glad you made it. We have a super awesome special guest today. He is a very passionate dude, health and wellness genius, physical specimen, and an awesome friend. I've known him for a long time. He's an online physique coach based out of Hollywood. And yeah, he's going to help us. He loves helping people. He has clients all around the world, and he's plugged into a super awesome training team. And yeah, so he's going to help us take advantage of our physical well-being today. You can follow him on Instagram. What's your Instagram, Arnold? Oh, it's at Arnold Weldon. Straight up. ARNOLDWELDEN. All right, without further ado, Mr. Arnold Weldon. All right, Arnold. How's it going, man?
Going good. How are you?
Good. Freaking excited.
Yeah, me too. I know we've been talking about this to do, so.
Yeah, and I always enjoy talking to you about fitness and health. It's always been good. So I figured we could help some people out and just share ideas about how people can take advantage of, their own health and their own fitness. In high school, you were always, you're always lifting.
Oh yeah, that's always been a huge, aspect of my life. Lifting, making sure that, I don't know. It kind of all stemmed from when I was younger and I had, these body image disorders where I just think that, I used to be overweight when I was a kid. So, growing up, it was more of me not being happy with the way I looked.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do something about it. And that's where it kind of stemmed from. But I didn't really start bodybuilding until I got into college. And, they only had the intramural sports. And the only thing they had available was rugby. And I didn't want to do rugby. Or, no, it was rugby. It was lacrosse. Lacrosse. And I didn't want to do lacrosse. So I'm like, I'm going to do bodybuilding like I wanted to do when I was younger. And so just started going to the gym and the school gym. And so it wasn't very sufficient. It was, the dumbbells only went so heavy and the weights and everyone there was it was really packed. I mean, I used to wait in line to use a leg extension machine. It was ridiculous. So I was like, I need to go somewhere else more bigger. So that's why I kind of stemmed out to a bigger gym, outside the school. And that's where I met one of my friends who later got me into bodybuilding.
Okay.
And that's when I first heard about natural bodybuilding. And that was a huge realm for me because I had always thought bodybuilding was just about, actually I didn't know too much. I didn't know there was actually a drug side and a non-drug side.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a huge eye-opener because I always thought that, everyone was natural.
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of, dumb saying now, but at the time I was, so oblivious to it all. So then when I figured it out, I was like, oh, okay. So I'm not gonna grow up to be, this huge, 250-pound guy. It's possible for me, especially at my height, And so yeah, that was a huge eye opener to me. And ever since then, I've been a huge supporter of natural bodybuilding.
Yeah, I remember you lifting in high school, and then there was a time when you went off to school. You went to UC Merced, right?
Yeah.
For a while, and you went off to school, and then you came back, and you were it was really different in your physique and everything.
When I first started, it was just I read a lot of magazines, and I had the internet at the time, so that was pretty useful. It was pretty new for me, so I was looking on the forums, and I found a lot of. It was, for me, it was mostly information overload. So it was just a lot of information, and for me, it was just like, which one do I pick? What do I choose? What do I do? There was just so much I could do. It's like, there's one magazine tells you gain 20 pounds of muscle in 1 month. Another magazine telling you, add 5 inches to your biceps in 5 weeks. And I'm like, so much different things. So much information. I think a lot of times you need to just take a step back, reevaluate. What are your goals? What are you trying to do? And how you're going to accomplish them? Absolutely. And for me, it was just in the beginning. I knew I had to pack on muscle size, more muscle mass, and one of the things that I knew I had to do was just eating more. So I didn't know how much to eat, so I just ate as much as I could, and I engorged myself with a lot of food.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is all going to add up to muscle mass. The more you eat, the more your muscle's going to grow. Blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. And that ended up being really bad because I just got really fat, and. Yeah, never again will I do that. Yeah, but I think it was an experience because for me, it was important for me to go through that, for me not to ever do that again, and for me to learn that there's probably a more efficient way to go about this than just getting super fat, super slow, super out of breath. I mean, I can still recall bending over and tying my shoes, and I used to get out of breath. It was really bad.
Wow.
It was really bad.
And you were lifting all the time?
Oh yeah, I was lifting 5-6 times a week, and I was doing really high volume. I was pretty active, but in the weight room, but I couldn't. I was out of breath just walking upstairs and tying my shoes, and it wasn't until I found out about macros was through 3DMJ. I read a lot about them, and also a lot about Lyle McDonald and Alan Aragon. And those were all 3 of my outlets that I used to just pound on because they were science-based approaches to bodybuilding and overall fitness. There are ways you can manipulate your body composition based on what you consume, what you eat. And it was like, I didn't figure this out until I started dieting. So once I got up to 220 pounds, I was super fat. And it wasn't until I started tracking macros that I thought, okay, I started seeing results. But I'm not here to say that tracking macros is the only way you can lose weight. There's a lot of ways you can go about this, but for me it was a lot more easier to stick to an approach that allowed me to eat foods that for most people would be out of boundaries because you can't eat pizza, you can't eat ice cream when you're dieting, of course, because the sugar makes you fat.
Right, yeah, totally.
And so for me to understand that, I could still eat these foods and still reach a caloric deficit was a real huge eye opener for me. Because now I could tell myself like, hey, I could eat these foods and still lose weight, and still lift, and my body physique goals will not be, ruined by that.
Right, yeah.
And that was huge for me. So I dieted that way, and I used to eat ice cream and steak and all this stuff, and I got really lean for my bodybuilding show. Fast forward, after all that was said and done, I just the reverse diet. The reverse diet was a huge other experience for me. Something a lot of people don't talk about is just that reverse dieting is this concept where you kind of just increase your macros, gain out of a deficit. So if you're out of a deficit, you increase your macros, trying to get to more of a maintenance approach back to a more healthier body fat level. So, and I think to answer your question, this was the time where I kind of figured out more about food and how my body responds to it. Kind of a long answer to what your question was, but it wasn't until I started figuring out that I didn't have to get super fat anymore. So me understanding that I didn't have to gain, 50, 60 pounds to gain muscle mass was in gaining and looking better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think in the long term though, people need to understand that in order to get to that point where you're lean gaining, is that you need to add a lot more muscle mass entirely. So I guess what I'm trying to say is people should focus more on putting on muscle mass rather than just cutting all the time. I know a lot of times people want to cut, for the beach or for the summer, and I think beginners to focus more on, putting on more muscle mass rather than just cutting all the time.
So that, in 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years, you can be at that point. You don't have to rely or depend on them. What is like the most quintessential advice you give your clients? Like, what's the first thing that you tell them that is going to impart, the wisdom they need to continue on and not give up?
This is pretty loaded question. For me to say one word, I would tell them it'd be 2 words. I always talk about this all the time. It would be patience and consistency. I think those two go hand in hand, and I think a lot of times people don't understand that this takes a long time.
Yeah, right.
I've been doing this since, I was a freshman in college, so it's been about probably around 8 years I've been doing this. And throughout those 8 years, it's just been like just trial and error, And even now to this day, I'm finding ways where I can be more efficient in the gym, not only training, but also with my nutrition, just finding out ways that work, So it's always like, it's a long road of learning more about your body and learning what you respond better to. So it's so patience and consistency, those 2 things, consistent with your workouts, consistent with your nutrition, those 2 things will go hand in hand and will yield you some great results.
Absolutely. How do you see the fitness industry changing from when you started, from when you got in to where you are now?
One of the biggest things is just it's gotten so much more mainstream. I mean, you can go on Instagram right now and you can see, people lifting, trending worldwide. I mean, it's like, trending, and before in the past that was very rare to see. When I first started, it was just like everyone thought bodybuilding, when people were doing fitness, people were always working out. That's always been around, but you didn't really see it mainstream, as much as I see it now. Yeah. Especially with social media now, it's gotten huge. And I see a lot more friends now that I used to knew in high school that never interested in lifting, and now I see them lifting. Yeah. And for me, I think that's great. Just basically networking more. I think that's the number one thing you should push more, is just advertising, networking, and just getting yourself out there more. Collaborations, that's huge too. I mean, it's hard for me since I live, not so locally to all these other people, but collaborations are really nice. You get to meet a lot more people this way, get to establish more of a personal relationship with these people instead of just always online. And you're able to do videos together too. That's just really nice. Yeah. So I think just overall, just probably networking. Just do that. Be more direct with that.
Yeah, just absolutely. Again, sometimes.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, everybody. This is Arnold Weldon. I call him Arnold Iron Man, Arnold the Machine Weldon. So look him up online. Follow him on Instagram. And peace out, everybody.
Cool.
All right. Thank you guys so much. This was GodXP Podcast episode number 3. We're wrapping it up here. Be sure to come back next week.
Hey everybody, welcome to the season 2 GodXP Podcast. Really excited to be doing this. We've got Lauren Davis with me. She's a long-time friend of mine.
I feel like I was like 14 or something, like really young.
Yes. Yeah, we've known each other for a long time. Spiritual director, super cool, straight edge, hardcore chick. Christian leadership, right?
Yeah, yep, the Master of Christian Leadership at Sioux Falls Seminary in South Dakota.
Are you done with that? You graduated or?
I became certified as a spiritual director, but I have one more year left to get my master's degree in seminary. So just have a couple classes left. But it's wrapping up shortly.
Cool. Good. How does it feel?
Really surreal. Really, I don't know. I think about it sometimes, how it's going to unfold, I guess, but I'm just trusting that it's where I need to be and what I need to be doing, and everything else will fall in place. So,
so from when you went in, how do you feel? Do you feel like the depth of your knowledge was anything like you would have expected it to be?
Oh, I hope so, because I think you nailed it. Where when I first started school, I have an undergrad degree in theology, with like a minor in pop culture, but I didn't really take it that seriously. Like I didn't really take the readings too seriously as I should have, and that's kind of partially on my own personal formation, where I just didn't care. I didn't really understand. I didn't really care to know the language. And then when I started seminary, it felt like something that was like my choice. Like I wanted to do this. And
how do you feel it? Like what you've learned, how has it changed the way that you view? How has that changed you?
I think it changed the stigmas I had about spirituality and theology, because, when people in our Western culture, they hear the word spirituality, they more than likely will associate it with like an Eastern practice, or like, oh, that's what people in other countries do, not America, which is simply not true. And I don't know, I guess for me, I just thought like, oh, like spirituality is like this new age sort of thing. I didn't realize it was also very like Judeo-Christian practices as well. And in seminary and sharpening my theology in that, I realized, oh my goodness, like where has this entire world been, and it's been there for centuries. And I think a lot of this entire part of Christianity has been missed out because of like the Protestant movement that happened throughout like the 19th century and to current day. They kind of like shoved it aside, and it's like, no, we need this too. Like this is part of us forming ourselves as spiritual beings, and like there's a whole side that God created and was very intentional about. Why are we not talking about this in our churches today? And so that really, it helped me connect the two. Like spirituality can't exist without theology. Like they both need to be with each other.
That you've come to that conclusion, that excites me. That makes me feel excited about.
Like it should continue to keep, I guess, progressing or evolving to that realization that, like, I don't know, historical but also cultural times of like how the church is today, basically, of like why it treats spirituality in that sense. It kind of makes it a compartment, or like they put it on different pedestals where it's like, oh, that person's more spiritual than me. I can never be that level, or I can never be like them. And that's simply not true at all.
How did you get to meditation, and how has it been, how has it been for you? How do you quantify it in your, belief?
Yeah. So basically, Sioux Falls Seminary in itself, like this is kind of like a shameless plug, I guess, but they're a unique seminary in the sense that they really care about soul searching and like soul care and soul work. That like literally the first class I took ever was in spiritual formation, and everyone is required to take it, because in order to reach the people in the different settings that we're involved in, we have to know ourselves, and we have to know our true identity and our true self first and foremost, and how to sharpen that and be more equipped. In school, we talked about how, like, you know, it started like as an Eastern practice, and how like it was kind of like an individual emptying of one's mind, and everything. But then we touched on how like meditation is also like, it's a Christian practice, and it's actually like, it's one of the core like centers, disciplines of Judeo-Christianity. And that's kind of like sparked my interest, because it's like, okay, God wants something to do with meditation as well. What would this look like for a Protestant Christian and the Western culture and Western world that we live in? And basically, like, I don't know, there's a quote by A.W. Tozer that I think kind of like explains it. It's in his book called The Pursuit of God. And he says that God dwells in his creation and is everywhere, indivisibly present in all his works. So it's basically like showing that God is already like, he's everywhere, he's ever present. Why do we need to empty our minds completely? And basically in Psalms 139:7, it says, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I hide from your presence? You know, God is near. We breathe his breath. So I think a Christian like meditation is, it's like emptying your mind in order to be fully present and fully focused and aware of God's movement in your life. And it's like a tool to steady like your mind, body, and soul to be all on the same page and be ready to pay attention to like God's movement. And when I realized that, I realized how I was spreading myself thin by being incredibly distracted by like my mind, body, and soul was just like invested in so many different things. I wasn't allowing myself to be still and put my focus on other things, or like emptying my mind in order to be focused on God's movement. And so like recently I had a hard time falling asleep at night, and like I'm someone, my personality type, I daydream a lot, and I get really caught up in my head to where it just creates false scenarios. And it's like meditation, I do like a guided meditation to where like someone's guiding me into like a good night's sleep, but in the sense of like it's emptying my mind in a way to focus on like I deserve this night of sleep, and everything else I'm thinking is false, or I can pay attention to it tomorrow, like it's okay.
Right.
And
yeah.
So that's kind of
cool.
like where I came to. And I think your influence helped me, because I heard about your story and you told me about how meditation helped you with like anxiety and depression, and also finding your true self too, in that journey. And it's very true. Like I think so many people can benefit from meditation.
Hope you enjoyed our Blast from the Past pilot episode. If you want to learn more, like I said earlier, go to GodXP.com. That's where our online store is. There's free stuff there. Go to app.godxp.com. That's where our community is. There's tons of free meditations and yoga and personal development stuff in there. So hit that up. And follow me online. Follow at We Are GodXP on social media everywhere. Follow at AntPStyle on social media everywhere. And you can find highlight clips on YouTube. If you just look up Anthony Polanco or GodXP on YouTube, you'll find it there. What else? Find it, hunt it down, share it with friends, get more people involved, and we'll see you in the next episode. I'm Anthony Polanco. Peace out.